What's up, guys? Welcome to the line change. In this video, we're going to be going over a trade that the Vancouver Canucks made at the time of this recording about 12 hours ago. Now, obviously, when this trade first broke, go figure, I was at work. So, this is now twice now that the Canucks have made a trade, and I haven't been able to react to it right away. Instead, I got to wait 12 hours before I can actually record a video. But I'm doing it. Here we go. So the Vancouver Canucks have traded Dakota Joshua to the Toronto Maple Leafs for a 2028 fourth-round pick. Now, obviously, there was a lot of trade speculation when it comes to Dakota Joshua. And, he was obviously somebody who was likely on the block along with Teddy Blueger. So it's not really surprising that the Canucks have traded Dakota Joshua. What I am surprised about is that he went for a fourth-round pick. That is something that surprised me. I do think, and this is just my personal opinion, that Joshua could have gotten more than a fourth-round pick, but I also understand the reasoning behind this trade. Obviously, this is a salary cap dump. The Canucks wanted to shed that $3.25 million salary that Dakota Joshua was signed to, and then it frees up cap space for the Canucks. So I do feel as though the Maple Leafs kind of took advantage of the Canucks, and some would say the Maple Leafs, quote unquote, fleeced the Vancouver Canucks with this trade. But before we dive into an article that talks about it, we're also going to go over the Vancouver Canucks' current salary cap, as well as some other things that may pertain or that may happen based off of this trade. But before we do that, as we always do, I want to give a big shout out to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of that incredible artwork you see there behind me. And you guys can check him out at GassyJackArt.com. You can also find him on Instagram at Gassy Jack Art. He still has his end of season sale going on where you can get 4 prints and you're only paying for 2 of them. The other 2 are, of course, free. So go ahead, check him out, GassyJackArt.com. So let's go ahead and dive into the first article that I'm going to be going over. Obviously brought to us by our friends at Canucks Army. This one just going over the actual trade itself, written by Tyson Cole, who goes on to say the Vancouver Canucks have traded forward Dakota Joshua to the Toronto Maple Leafs in exchange for a 2028 fourth-round pick. General Manager Patrick Allvin announced today that the Canucks have acquired a fourth-round pick in the 2028 NHL entry draft from the Toronto Maple Leafs in exchange for Dakota Joshua. Joshua signed with the Canucks in the 2022 offseason, inking a 2-year, $825,000 AAV contract. He primarily played fourth-line minutes, averaging 11 minutes and 31 seconds per game in his first year in Vancouver, registering 11 goals and 12 assists for 23 points in 79 games. Entering a contract year, Joshua was promoted to the third line opposite of Connor Garland. The duo became 2/3 of what was known as one of the best third lines in hockey, centered by Teddy Blueger. The 6'3" winger exploded offensively, scoring a career high in goals with 18, 14 assists, 32 points, a plus-minus of +19, 84 shots on goal, and a time on ice of 14.23 in just 63 games. Joshua suffered a hand injury after a fight in mid-February against the Chicago Blackhawks forward Mackenzie Entwistle that held him out for 19 games. During the Canucks' 2023-2024 postseason run, Joshua continued his breakout campaign, scoring some timely goals, none bigger than his third-period goal to give the Canucks their first lead in Game 1 of Round 1 against the Nashville Predators just 12 seconds after they tied the game. Joshua added the empty net goal in that game to seal the Canucks' victory. The power forward finished the postseason with 4 goals and 4 assists through 2 rounds and 13 games. These efforts earned him a 4-year, $13 million extension with a $3.25 million AAV to stay in Vancouver. However, after undergoing successful testicular cancer surgery in the offseason, Joshua had his 2024-25 season put on hold. The dead-born Michigan native missed the first month of the season before rejoining his team on November 14th against the New York Islanders. he would finish the season with just 7 goals, 7 assists, and 14 points in 57 games. The Maple Leafs originally drafted Joshua in the 5th round, 128th overall, of the 2014 NHL draft. Toronto was reportedly interested in Joshua had he hit the free agent market last summer. Now let's take a look at fan reaction to this trade. Obviously, this trade was broken by Thomas Drance, as I mentioned 12 hours ago on Twitter. But looking at the fan reaction, this is also an article from our friends at Canucks Army, also written by Tyson Cole. I'm not going to read the beginning as we just essentially went over that. I will read this bit. After some earlier summer reporting, Canucks fans were well aware that this was a possibility. With under $1 million in available salary cap space, the Canucks were looking to shed some cap. The roster has a few too many middle six wingers, making $2 to $3 million annually, and one of them had to move on. Unfortunately, it was Joshua who was moved. And then looking at some fan reactions from the Canucks Army comment section, from Canuck says, "Don't like this move. Dumping Joshua when his value was so low is a bad move. Worse if it's for Roslovic." From another one, "Decent move to clear space, gives them room to sign or trade for a 2C. Roslovic might be the target. 22 goals, 54.1% in the circle. He may not be ideal, but he would help a thin roster, giving them an elusive right-handed center they're missing and have wanted since the Lindholm rental. With Pettersson, Roslovic, Hedl, Ratu, Bluger as their 4 out of 5 Cs, they look better than they did a week ago. Bluger could be traded next if they have faith in Ratu, but they'd miss his PK for sure. I'm hoping they could keep him for that alone." Another one says, "I like Joshua, but this seemed inevitable with the added grit of Kane and the fact that Van is bursting at the seams with bottom 6 wingers, hopefully making room for Roslovic, or better to shore up the C position. He's going to be used up and down the lineup for the Leafs, who needed some grit, and I'm sure we'll get to see him scrap the 6'8" meathead in New York at least once or twice. Like Joshua when he was in top form, we just got smaller. However, he had to move a middle 6 winger. I think Joshua is better than Drew O'Connor, but probably not by 50% of salary. I'm still iffy about Höglander, but he has the upside. I can get on board with this. I hope they don't spend it on another bottom 6 center, though. We need impact players." Absolutely mind-boggling. Massive Leafs W. I'll be the devil's advocate here. Joshua had a grand total of 1 season where he came anywhere close to living up to his potential. Got his big deal. Good for him. The cancer was an unfortunate setback, but Alvin and company have obviously decided that he has peaked at age 29 and his contract was too rich and ultimately disposable. He very rarely plays to his size, and I think this is a good move. As for the Troll Brigade banging on about Roslovic, he's younger, almost the same size, and a right-handed center. He also has 2 20-goal seasons and more than 3 times the career points that Joshua has. He's simply a better player. And if his signing is the eventual result of this trade, I'm 100% for it. Another comment, "Not a fan of this trade. Having said that, there's another shoe to drop. Let's hope Canucks management secured the piece coming in before letting Joshua go, who will have a bounce back season. If it's just Roslovic, it's a total waste. Overpaid underproducer. Of all the teams that could have gone to, why the Leafs? We'll hope the best for DJ and T.O. Personally, I like this player, and it's tough to see him go. Had a feeling he was going to have a great bounce back year, but maybe I am wrong. We'll see. Question for me is, couldn't they try to package another player or draft pick to get a better return? The 23-24 playoffs were unforgettable. Joshua, Zadorov, Cole, Miller, and Susie were absolute wrecking balls out there. That physical edge was our identity. Now they're all gone. I have no idea what this management is even doing. Extends Garland, then immediately trades the one guy he has the most chemistry with. We get smaller, softer, and easier to play against. Turning a mistake overpayment contract into a 4th-round pick and cap space sounds like a win to me. Now let's take a look at some reaction from Twitter or X. One says, "Kane is a upgrade. Need the cap space to get a C. Fine with. Joshua is a beauty though." Gonna miss Dak. He was a beast in the playoffs. Okay with it. Dakota was a fan favorite 2 years ago, but wasn't in top gear last year. Shed some salary to bring in a bigger name. Canucks are cooking. Love the guy, but had to be done. We have too many wingers and need to see. It could end up being swapping Joshua for a fourth and Rozovic, which is a good deal for us. Don't like it here and now, but wait to see how the salary is used before judging. Bottom six is loaded. Moving out the $3+ million cap makes good business sense. Another move may get our 2C. With the influx of players coming from Abbey, his cap hit made him expendable. The extra cap space will allow the Canucks to target a player who can play higher up the lineup. Value for Toronto will depend on how he bounces back. Have to see who Van adds before the final verdict. I have a hard time understanding the plan. I don't understand the logic. We signed his best bud and someone he had great chemistry with, Connor Garland, but trade him away for nothing but to clear cap space or have more prospects 3 years from now. 0 cents. This one is just a thumbs down. This one is just a gif of Steve Carell from The Office with tears in his eyes. Some from Instagram. This hurts. They better do something real good with that cap space. Love the guy, but it's time. Too expensive with one good season. Such sad news, but from a business perspective, I get it. He's a fan favorite, but wasn't really playing the way he was sold. He was sold to be. He was a bottom six winger that could throw the body, be a physical presence to scare the other teams, protect his teammates, and forecheck. Thing is, he isn't a faster guy out there. Didn't really go and intimidate anyone and barely finish checks. He doesn't do anything different than a younger, cheaper kid would do from the AHL. Sorry, I don't mean to be brutally honest, but he's not going to be a key part of the Leafs team either. If they traded him to get anything less than a 2C, it's a fail. Move out Hedel and possibly Bluger to bring in McTavish, and you make me happy. I hope he has a huge year. Just traded away another big body that brought a level of toughness and grit. He had an off year last year, and we all know why. Not liking this trade at all. Unless we get a proper forward, this is pointless. I think he's going to have an amazing season. I just wish it was for us. Guy's a stud, big and physical with some scoring touch. I hate this move unless they do something crazy and get someone unreal for the 2C spot. We might as well just skip to next year's draft and pick 12th to 15th like we do every year. If he performs on the same level as last season for the duration of this contract, then it is a good salary dump. But if he returns to form, then the Canucks got fleeced. Keeping Joshua means status quo, and that's not good. The team needs new blood, and management aren't afraid to move on from middle six players to take a shot at improving. There's also some from Facebook. The one player who shows emotion out there. I like Joshua, but something had to give. We need a center, and we had a surplus of bottom six wingers. A 4th round pick is fine. Well, considering Vancouver has both Sherwood and Kane, and both of them are serious upgrades from Joshua in a similar role, Vancouver's need for a top six forward and Joshua's readiness to be a more impactful power forward, I would say this was a necessary trade for both sides. I like Joshua, and I'm sad to see him go, but I'm sure he will find more ice time with Toronto than he would see with Vancouver. Seems Vancouver has created some more cap space while providing a prospect a chance to make the team. I know it's a necessary move, but you can't trade away a fan favorite. Something is owed to the fans of Vancouver. At least half of the people on here commenting this was a bad move. Please understand, 1, we needed a 2C badly. 2, we needed to shed cap to make that happen. 3, any winger not in the top 6 was expendable. 4, if Bluger is our 3C on the depth chart, we might be in trouble. 5, Brock Besser, DeBrusque, Kane, Garland, Höglander, Lekaramaki, I would expect are our top 9 wingers, which doesn't leave much reason to pay Dakota what he was making with all those other guys around. Hate it. Joshua was grit and determination. Where else is this on the forward lines? Softer than Dairy Queen. We need to get the kids on the farm up. We have too many overpaid wingers on this club. Canucks will live to regret this and the pod goals and giveaways. They need more, not less of what these guys bring. Traded what they needed. Size, grit, effort. A teammate who held the other team accountable. Good PK guy. Yes, big cap hit. Yes, a glut of bottom 6 guys. Pick someone else. If he got 17 to 22 goals this year, no one would care about the money. No one on the farm has that skill set, so not an easy replacement. So as you can tell from the fan reaction, a lot of fans are 50-50 on this. Now, some are saying this is a good move, it's a cap dump, and also a lot of people are also waiting to give a verdict on this trade, depending on what the Canucks do with that cap space that they have now freed up. And I'll admit, I'm one of those. I'm withholding my verdict. Hopefully, this does mean that they do get, a 2C, and whether or not that's Roslovic or not. I mean, I kind of hope it's Roslovic because he just seems like the ideal person. Yes, he's not, fantastic. He's not a Marco Rossi. He's not a Mason McTavish. But at the end of the day, he's somebody who's young and talented. And maybe Roslovic just needs a change of scenery, and maybe he can do better than he did this past season. That's just my opinion, though. So those are the fan reactions from this. But I wanted to take a look at the Canucks' salary cap. So let me just quickly share this. Share screen. Where is it? Boom. Okay, so let me find my share screen. There we go. Now I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. There. So let's take a look at their current cap space. So as you can see, after this trade, they have just a little over $3 million in cap space after this trade. And as you can see on the draft pick side, you can see now we now have 3 round 4 picks in 2027. We have our own. We have the Chicago fourth round pick, and we also have the Pittsburgh one that we got for Archer Sealoves. We also now have 2 in 2028 fourth round picks. We have our own, and now we have, of course, the Toronto Maple Leafs fourth round pick. So who knows what they're going to do with said draft picks, if they're going to maybe trade them or use them to acquire players. We shall see. But right now their cap space is at 3.27. So that obviously allows us to either trade for or sign a player. Obviously, we mentioned Roslovic is, let me actually quickly bring him up, because his last contract was under $3 million. So yeah, his previous cap hit was 2.8. So now I'm not sure if Roslovic is looking for a pay increase or what. But hey, if he signed a 2.8 1-year deal, perhaps he'll sign something like it or something perhaps similar with the Canucks if the Canucks do pursue that option. Obviously, excuse me, looking at the free agency list, or the remaining UFAs, rather, I should say. Just gonna put this back down. Obviously, out of the bunch, Roslovic, as I mentioned in my previous video the other day, he's at the top. So if it doesn't get any better than Roslovic, at least when it comes to the UFA market, obviously, the Canucks may still use this cap space for a trade. I've heard some people talking about Marco Rossi again. Although as much as I was a big believer and completely 100% on the Marco Rossi, bandwagon or train or whatever terminology you want to use, I think that's dwindled a little bit. Obviously, I'm thinking less and less that it's likely to happen, but I do think there's a better chance that we get a guy like Jack Roslovic as our 2C, perhaps for just 1 year, and then who knows. But Obviously, this trade is relying on what the Canucks are going to do with that cap space. So, as I mentioned, I will reserve my verdict, my judgment on this trade until we see whether or not the Canucks use that cap space for it. So, that being said, let me just go back to this. Just wait for it to load. There we go. So that being said, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find and interact with us on social media. You can find us on Facebook. Just search The Line Change to find our Facebook page. You can find us on Instagram at The Line Change. You can find us on X at Line Change Van. You can find us on TikTok at the TLC Podcast. You can also find us on Blue Sky at The Line Change. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. And if you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, once again, feel free to give us a follow, as well as rate and review us. It is, of course, greatly appreciated. But once again, let me know in the comment section down below what do you guys think about this trade. Do you guys think that another move might be coming, perhaps within the next few days, perhaps maybe even by the time this video comes out? They may have already done something in regards to that cap space. Once again, let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, let's go Canucks, and I'll see you guys next time.